Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Keith Silva, in for Fran Stoddard. At the 11th hour, on the 11th day of the 11th month, hostilities were ceased on the battlefields of Europe, ending World War I, the war to end all wars. Since that day in 1918, November 11th is designated to honor all military veterans who have served in both war and peace. According to the most recent census, there are just over 43,000 veterans in Vermont. The University of Vermont numbers 100 veterans in its ranks. These students may have taken different paths to get to college, but they want what every student wants, an education and to connect with their peers. Our guests today are David Carlson, coordinator of UVM's Veteran Services at the University of Vermont, and Stephanie Wobe, a member of the UVM class of 2020. Welcome to both of you.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Before we get started, I want to say that both of you served in the military. David, you were a Marine corporal, having deployed 3 times in 4 years in Iraq. And Stephanie, you were an Army sergeant, having served as a senior medic. And I'm glad both of you are here to spend Veterans Day with us.
Thank you very much.
All right, David, get us started. Tell us about UVM's Veteran Services.
Yeah, so over the past few years, UVM has invested significantly in student veteran support. We've invested in staff time, myself and another staff member. Physical space, we have an office in the Waterman building, financially with the Yellow Ribbon Scholarship and other financial aid. And we've really worked on making the transition from the military to higher education go as smoothly as it can.
And that's really a big part of your role, is a veteran like Stephanie comes to UVM, and you're there to sort of help them make that transition as smooth as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we prioritize sort of in like a hierarchy of needs. Education benefits come first. Students got to have their GI Bill up and going. They've got to be getting their tuition paid. But immediately after that, what I'm working on with students is how to find fit at the university and be academically successful.
Different challenges, different things. Veterans, obviously age is one thing. They're usually older than a lot of students. So is that some of the things that are different about veterans taking classes at UVM?
Yeah, it's absolutely something that's different. You know, nationally, half of student veterans are married, half of them have mortgages, they have kids, they have real financial obligations in the world that makes it kind of challenging to go be an undergraduate student full-time at a university like UVM. So those challenges also have a lot of upsides that go along with them. These students have real-world experience.
Right.
You know, they're not going to be nervous in a class or in an exam. You know, they've got that military experience behind them.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, speak for yourself, David. Stephanie, I don't think you were nervous, but what was your first reaction going back to school after having served in the military?
I didn't know what to expect. I didn't foresee myself going back to school immediately after going to the military or after leaving the military. I actually went to Hawaii Pacific University before moving to UVM, transferring to UVM after my husband left the military. And it was a pleasant surprise to see that a class specific for student veterans was being offered during my first semester. So I was excited.
Yeah, we'll talk about that class in a second. What sort of reaction do you get from students when you're in class and they find out you're a veteran, or it comes up in conversation?
It's unexpected. I mean, they're surprised. They want to know more. They're curious. They want to know about my family. I'm a real adult, and and it's nice. It's been a positive experience so far.
Does anybody, is there any sort of, are they generally friendly? I mean, anyone's
Absolutely.
not like, oh.
Yeah. I think it's disarming to them that I don't fit the mold of a regular veteran. You know, I don't have a high and tight. I'm a woman of color, and it's also surprising that I'm an immigrant. I actually got naturalized on the 4th of July in Saddam Hussein's palace. So So I think that it's all of those things combined that make it so easy for them to connect with me.
David, I should say not only are you a veteran, but you received your undergraduate from UVM and you're going to grad school right now.
Yeah, that's right.
If you can remember back all those years, is there any difference? Is Stephanie's story similar to what you experienced?
It is. You know, I came into UVM 180-degree transition coming from the Marine Corps Infantry to groovy UV campus in Burlington, Vermont, which is where I came from, where I'm born and raised, and so for me it was really coming home. But students were more interested in what my experience was like.
Right.
There was a lot of questioning and a lot of support in the classes.
That's great. Speaking of support, Stephanie mentioned that UVM is offering or has offered classes strictly for veterans. What did you and your colleagues hope to accomplish by offering this class?
Yeah, so we used Homer's Odyssey as a coming home from war story, and we taught that with Professor John Franklin, the chair of our classics department, in collaboration with Roberta Stewart from Dartmouth, to put together a veterans seminar. So it was a situation where we could come together as just veterans, talking about the oldest story of humankind, what it's like to go away to war and then come home.
Is there something in the class that, okay, so it's veterans within veterans. I imagine if it was any other cultural group, socioeconomic group, you would feel more comfortable in it. Is there something that it's just more easier to be around other people that have had the same experience, that shared experience?
Absolutely. I think that, the first day of class, we didn't know what to expect out of the class because it's really the first class that was only created for student veterans that I've attended. And I mean, we all experienced the shyness. We didn't want to open up to each other, but I think at the back of our minds, we had a common ground. We shared something, so we were never really at square one.
Okay.
We were able to, after a few weeks, we started talking about our experiences, and it was easy. It was easy to ease into it.
So you could talk about your military experience. Other people in class would understand, so you didn't have to explain that on top of it. They could say, when we were doing this, in this, whatever.
The military experience and the transitioning experience. I think that was important. For me, at least, I knew that all of these people who were attending this class were going through the same things that I was going through, coming back to school after so many years of being away, and it gave me comfort to know that there were people out there. And without this class, I never would have met them.
David, you were a part of that class as well. You were, helping not co-teach, but facilitate. That's the word.
I'm certainly not a classicist. No, we rely on John Franklin.
We rely on John for that. What was your reaction? Because you had this kind of unique perspective where you were also a veteran. You had come back earlier, but you were also sort of in this facilitator role now. So what did you see?
I thought it was really amazing. It was about week 3 when some of the initial nerves or anxiety of having a class like that sort of were let go. And I remember one of the students said, "Oh, this reminds me," talking about the Odyssey, "of when I was in Afghanistan, ...
Right.
And then we had, a 15-minute conversation on the universality of that experience for human beings across generations, across time.
Right. From Homer to now. Does that help? Did that help enrich? Did that help you understand the Odyssey better?
Absolutely. I mean, I read it in high school and I didn't think twice about it.
Right.
I pretty much skimmed it. Reading it a second time with peers who had the same experiences, we were able to share and add on to the text.
And obviously the experience you had as well. Give yourself credit there, Stephanie. What can UVM do? I'll ask this question for both of you. What can UVM do to raise visibility for military veterans on campus, David?
I think they can do a lot. I think we are doing a lot right now. We've gone through a leadership transition recently, but there's a great continuity. We host an annual luncheon for student veterans, faculty, and staff members, hosted this year by our new president, Dr. Garamella. And that's going to be on Monday. And so it's an opportunity to continue building community during a leadership transition. And that's one of the things that I'm really proud of at UVM.
Stephanie, what did you?
I think that student veterans and the Student Veteran Organization have been supported greatly by the administration, by David's office, by clubs, by other centers at UVM. I do think having a place where the Student Veteran Organization can meet, where student veterans can congregate, can study, would be a great addition.
So you just mean like a room, some sort of place, you know?
Something, yeah, where we can also have all of our resources centered. So student veterans can come in and look to see what David's doing, or maybe even counseling services specific to the student veteran community would be great.
Is there something where, I mean, it sounds like it's not a lot. 100, we said just about 100. Doesn't sound like it's a lot, but that's a pretty significant number. You know, certainly in Vermont, no military base here, nothing like that. What are the students? You know, does everybody participate? What's the kind of breakdown?
Well, I would also include that there's, you know, about 240 overall students using VA benefits.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I also serve military families
right,
and their
right.
educational dependents. So, you know, mom or dad might be in the military or the National Guard and have GI Bill benefits for their student to come to UVM. And so that's another big part of what we do as well.
Yeah, that's not insignificant as well,
Certainly.
you know,
Right.
that mom and dad were there. Just a minute or so left. What's the one thing that you would like someone on Veterans Day to think of as whether they see you or whatever? What would you like them to say or think
To
of?
recognize and understand the sacrifice of veterans across time for our country. I think it's an incredibly important experience. It's a part of what keeps the United States free. And, you know, we talk a lot about, I was a political science major, we talk a lot about rights and responsibilities, and I'm really on the responsibilities side. And when I came back and used the GI Bill and other VA benefits, I felt nothing but gratitude. And so that's what I want people to understand.
Stephanie?
I think that while Veterans Day is a great day to celebrate veterans, I think that we can use all the days of the year to recognize veterans
point.
and thank them. And yeah, that's about it.
When someone comes up and says, we were talking this before, someone says, thank you for your service, is that something that, David, you had a good response to that?
Yeah, it's like, you know, Keith, you're worth it.
Well, thank you very much.
And I mean it, yeah.
Well, you two have been worth it very much. Thank you very much for being here and celebrating Veterans Day with us. I want to thank everyone here at WCAX for helping us make Across the Fence possible, and thank you for stopping by.